Good morning. Yesterday, the government of Canada introduced a much needed legislation to permit people end their lives if they are really suffering from terminal diseases and they have no hope of survival. This was not done of its own accord, but was the result of a directive from the Supreme Court of Canada. The Supreme Court of Canada had ordered the federal government to pass this legislation within a period of 1 year so that it can come at par with other humanistic countries like Sweden, Norway, etc. to ensure that the people who are suffering, that the people who have no hope of leading a life on their own terms, a healthy life, a happy life, have a right to die. This law fulfills a gap of hope for the tortured humanity. Life is a beautiful thing. Nobody wants to die. And yet, people get so exhausted mentally and physically that the only hope they can have is to embrace death. The new law has been quite an achievement, but still it does suffer from a lot of lacuna. The first one and the most important one is that in a country like Canada, where Alzheimer's and dementia, depression and loneliness play a major role, these diseases have been excluded from the purview of the Act. Imagine a guy suffering from lung cancer can end his life because he has no hope of survival. But a guy who is suffering from dementia, who doesn't know who he is, what is he doing, where is he going, what he is eating, how is he living, sometime a life worse than that of a beast, cannot end his life with dignity. This sort of attitude is inhuman and shows the cold and callous concern of the authorities that be. Then, another thing is that people have 15 days to reconsider their decision. Of course, I can understand that no action should be taken to end life, which should be an impulse action. So 15 days waiting period is justified. However, have we considered the pain and agony of those 15 days? And especially when you know that you have been permitted on the advice of the two medical practitioners to end your life. And yet you wait, okay, I'll die on the 15th day, I'll die on the 14th day. This count is torture. And all the more reason for the case of the dementia people I suffered earlier. For those people, it's okay. But for a guy who is suffering from an intermittent disease, this is a real problem. Another issue which crops up is that this law would be applicable only to the Canadian citizens. If you want to visit Canada for availing of the services of the doctors, to end your life, that would not be permissible. Now at present, in Sweden, about 30% people go there, and in Switzerland, there is a huge suicide tourism industry which has spawned. I do not say, and I do not aver, that giving death should be a source of earning money. But if some people who are genuinely suffering and they know that in their own countries they cannot end life, why should they be deprived of it? For example, in India, till 4 years back, committing suicide was a crime. It's no longer a crime today there. But doctor-assisted suicide is still not permitted. Now the same situation happens in Canada. Suicide is not a crime. But egging somebody, persuading somebody, goading somebody to commit suicide is crime. And doctor-assisted suicide was till now considered to be assisting suicide. Now this act would remove that lacuna, but the discriminatory approach is not justified. As a matter of fact, Canada could very well become a heaven for those people who want to come here and avail of these services. Well, if they can come here to get themselves treated, why not to die? And in the cases of financial need, there's nothing wrong with that. There's another issue, and that concerns the minors. This law would be applicable only to the adults, not the minors. I agree that the minors can be manipulated and minors can be impulsive. I also agree that the minors should not be permitted normally because they are at the beginning of life to end their life, as to say. But if a minor is in a position that there is no hope of survival, that there is no remedy, irremediable situation, and if the minor along with his guardians, the parents, desires to end the torture of life, he should be permitted to do so. You cannot say that simply because he is a minor, he is deprived of the right not to end his life. You see, I remember that in the old Greek times, committing suicide was considered to be an act of bravery. The government of Canada does recognize that committing suicide is your inherent right. Right to life always includes right to death. The only quibbling, the legal quibbling, was about assisted suicide because it has always been assumed that it can be misused. A man is sick, to use his estate, to use his hard-earned money, his heirs might encourage him to commit suicide. That possibility is there. And that is why the legal requirement of two doctors, one of them would not be his family doctor, precludes that situation where it can be misused. So the same facility should be given to the minors, and an addition can be there. You can always say, okay, the minors would be permitted to achieve or have the facility of assisted suicide by the doctor, provided apart from the two medical practitioners, they should, both the parents, father and the mother, not and all, but and both of them agree with it. No parent willingly, of his or her own volition, wants to end the child's life. But they also know the torture that their ward, their child is undergoing. They see the withering away, the slowly draining out of the life. And many times, this death is a welcome relief. As a matter of fact, doctor-assisted suicide is essentially a welcome relief for that torture for which there is no hope. Secondly, another issue which crops up is that the people who are suffering from terminal diseases have been included. But what about those people who are suffering from grievous and irremediable disease? Terminal illness, the guy is going to die in near future, maybe a couple of years. So he ends the torture of the 2 years of diseased, burdensome, painful, agonizing life. But if it's a grievous hurt and irremediable, then why not? This is a human concern. And the quibbling of the law should not be permitted to override the human and humane considerations. As I said earlier, right to life includes right to end life. And in case one exercises the option of ending the life, if he is by himself, if he is capable of ending it himself, there is no ban on that. So why should there be ban on his seeking assistance, especially from qualified, competent medical authorities? That being so, it's imperative that the proposed law is amended considering the parameters laid down as suggested by me, and also by following up the law as is prevalent in the countries where it is being practiced. We will find that the number of the deaths has not increased. As a matter of fact, people, when they are aware that they can end their torturous life, do not do so with impunity. They always consider. And the process of consideration of ending life is always fraught, not with danger, but with hope. Hope that, okay, as long as we can lead a life that is full of dignity, that is full of our being able to discharge our responsibilities, is welcome. But when it's a burden on yourself and your dear and near ones, then it's better to say goodbye. Goodbye with a smile, though full of pain, but end the life with the dignity it deserves, not with a whimper, but with a smile. Thank you.